Minded podcast powered by the CDA Paris edition, presented by Maison et Objets and Paris Design Week.
David,
hello.
Thank you so much for having me here today. How are you?
To welcome you.
Oh, this is a beautiful space, and I want to waste no time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and what we're doing here?
Okay. Basically, I used to work in fashion for many years. I worked for LVMH and Hermès and a few other big groups. From fashion, I decided to work as a freelancer, and I created a communication agency 12 years ago. And I used to represent fashion designers, but also architects. My first client was Studio KO. Mm-hmm. And thanks to them, I wanted to focus my agency to focus on, to represent talents, very focused on craftsmanship and artisans. So all the fashion designer that I used to represent was a very niche and specific brands. And since 6 years now, we are focusing on interior design, furniture design, craftsmanship. Again, we represent a lot of artisans and now art galleries. And the idea of the communication agency was to represent this new generation of interior designers and architects. And because I was so inspired by their work, and I wanted also to make a new project with my business partner, Giroire, who is not here today, unfortunately. But the idea of, we wanted to work on the special project together. And I proposed to him to maybe we can invite the designer that I used to represent to create a collection of objects and pieces of furniture.
This is where we're at right now.
Exact. So the idea, we invite the designers at the time to think about a collection of objects and piece of furniture. We gave them the brief. We want something sculptural or monolithic or minimalist. And the designer came back with many ideas and drawings, and we challenged the designer on the materiality. So we invite them to explore some materials that they wasn't used to work with. Mm-hmm. So, for example, resin or plaster or crystal, and it was a very nice adventure. So the idea is that we received all their proposal, and the challenge was to make a correlation between all the objects. So we did Jerome and I creating a selection of pieces, and then we challenged the designer on the material. So from a piece proposed in pink travertine, for example, we invite the designer to work with resin, and so at this point we had to start to look of where was the best artisans to produce these kind of pieces. And so it's nice because it's the creativity of the designer, the eye of Jerome and I, and also the expertise of the artisans to produce the pieces, because without them we can't do anything. And so it was a very nice journey.
Well, it's a beautiful space.
Thank you.
And I cannot help but also be so curious about the relationship with the artists, because and with the designers as well, because as you mentioned, it's almost like a three element, right? Yeah. The designer, you and your partner, and the craftsmen involved in the process. How the dialogue, how the conversation starts, and how that evolves to eventually to become one of those wonderful pieces.
But I think at first, I think it's a story about sensibility, and in France we have the chance to work to access to the best artisans you can find, but I think all the objects of furniture already exist. Mm-hmm. And so if we have to invent some new pieces, it has to have a charge of poetry. And I think it can pass by the materiality of the color, and to have some objects that you can be related to, and that you can be attached to them, because each time when you look at them, you have a specific emotion. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite piece?
I think for example, the crystal centerpiece that we have here is very nice, because every time, depending on if you have a ray of light in the piece, for example, you have some flames appearing, and so depending on the angle you look at the pieces, you have this emotion that you can dive into the material and the color. For
Yeah.
example, this is the most evident pieces, maybe.
Yeah.
And then there is the benches as well, which
Okay.
is nice. So when there is a ray of light on the piece, the material became very bright.
Yes.
And so it's it's very nice to have it in front of a window, for example. It's very sensitive. Also, plaster, it's a material that we have here on the mirror. It's very matte.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, Emmanuel Simon, who used to work for Pierre Jovanovic for many years, wanted to do this. She wanted to do this piece made of ceramic in raku. It's beautiful, but I thought it was maybe too evident to have it in ceramic and maybe complex to make. And so I invite her to work with plaster, a material that she never used before.
Yeah.
And we find these great artisans in Belgium, and we can invent this piece. So it's like a bowl of plaster, and with a mirror in the centerpiece, and it's lightened around it. Yes.
Yeah, there's a sense sometimes that because the technology is moving so fast, a lot of people is walking away or even losing techniques and craftsmanship. But that doesn't seem to be what's happening here right now. It's almost like it's very much being highlighted, and the techniques can pass it on to the next generation.
But the thing is, with technology now, I think a lot of designers are designing the pieces through CGI or renderings, and it's very, very nice because you can have some fantastic drawings, but then you have to produce the pieces,
Exactly.
which is not that easy. So, for example, for the system that we have here, the first time we visited the atelier, we arrived with some sketches made of CGI. And then the designer proposed to the artisans to have the technical plans and I don't remember the name, but the technical drawings made of computers. And the guy was maybe 65 years old. He didn't want to stop working, but he said, "Oh, I don't use computers, so I don't need your files. I just need to create the pieces." So basically, he took the drawings, and then he has to invent the structure inside and to think about the upholstery, how to make it without seeing the seams. And it was very, very challenging for them because also the artisans in France, they are very good, of course, but usually they're always producing the same type of pieces.
So it's very specialized. It's something
No,
specific.
because I think there is some trends, for example, for armchairs. Recently, it was always like the banana shape sofas. And so they are producing a lot, always the same things. But when you come with a new idea, you have to rethink your technique. I think it was very challenging to them, and they took a lot of pleasure to produce the pieces.
Yeah, and you see, like you mentioned, the person who was working the product, it was someone, a 65-year-old gentleman who's been doing this most of his life.
Absolutely.
When you go visit those ateliers and those galleries, do you see a younger generation of craftsmen working the craftsmen, learning the techniques as well?
Absolutely. Yes, in France there is like this possibility to have to do some internship, and you learn how to make to run a trade or craft. For 3-4 years, it's called compagnonnage, and it's very, very interesting. And there is a new generation of people learning from their master.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Now, going back, talk about generation, because a big focus that you mentioned earlier is really bringing this next generation of designers. Right now, you're working mostly with French designers. How do they differ from the generation before them?
I don't know if there is a lot of difference. I think because as I said, we are all very obsessed with craftsmanship, but now it's how to propose like a collection with a high-end quality, but with a fresher aesthetic. And so it's nice maybe to have something, maybe in terms of business, I think to produce in France, can be very pricey. And maybe to justify the price of the pieces, it has to always to have a kind of a very luxurious shine. And maybe the idea of the RAM is to do like some high-end product but with like a fresher aesthetic and not so shiny or yeah.
How long did it take to develop the system in the current collection that we see right now?
Okay, so we were very lucky on the first collection because Jérôme and I decided to launch Theorem in July, and we have presented the first collection in Milan during Salone del Mobile in 2019.
Okay.
And so we developed all the 10 first objects in 9 months.
Wow.
So it was a very short. But for the second collection, what we have presented in 2022, sorry, 3 years later, we took like a very long time to develop it because it was COVID, so it wasn't so easy to access to the atelier. And also we are lucky to take time to develop the object. And I think it's nice to present something new and we don't have like the imperative to launch a collection every year or every 6 months as it is in fashion. And it takes a lot of time to develop it and and for the architects or interior designers to think of it, to have the opportunity to put it on a project, it took a lot of time. Yeah. So if you launch a new collection every year, maybe it's a bit too fast. And we developed the Sistema that you have here for a very long time because there is a lot of elements, and I think this took us maybe 2 years. Yeah.
Now, how important, because you're based in Paris, so you get people from all over the world travel to come to Paris to be inspired, to look for new product, to get, it's a hub of culture in the world. But how important is for you to also take those pieces elsewhere? As you mentioned, you launched during Salone in 2019. Is that plan of going to more fairs, art shows, and traveling a little bit more with exhibition?
Yes, we launched the collection 4 years ago. It's almost 5 years ago now in Salone. It's a good opportunity to have like a first exhibition because it's very massive. You have a lot of public, you have buyers, architects, collectors. Students, very large public, which was great. But we launched the second collection in Paris because it was maybe more, convenient. And at the time it would just be after COVID. And now this year we would participate to 2 big design fairs, Le Pad, which happened in Paris in April, and in October in London.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, and we had participated in one fair, two time in a fair called Collectible Design Fair in Brussels, which was very nice too. But now we're focusing on Paris.
We've seen a lot of brands really pushing an online presence. E-commerce, people can purchase online. You can even purchase them through Instagram. Is that something that excites you? Something that you we're looking to develop doing something similar as well?
I think Jérôme and I, at first, we have decided to go maybe softly and to be sure that we can launch nice objects and products, and also maybe when we sell them to produce them, which that's
the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And so we had the chance to take time to develop the network of artisans and all the relationship with them. And now we have a new gallery director. We will launch our new website very soon. And of course, Paris, it's a very nice destination. We have this beautiful gallery on Palais Royal. But in fact, we receive a lot of orders through Instagram. This is, I think, the strongest windows that the brand can have right now. And so we receive a lot of requests through Instagram. And so that's it.
Because you were in communication, you're still in communication, but you've been doing this for quite some time. Any big shift how people are communicating their brand from perhaps pre-COVID, before COVID, 5-10 years ago, what it is right now in 2024?
I think, yes, things have changed very fast. And I think now we see more than ever that the power of iconography and image Because if you do a presentation, for example, and if you enter in the room, and you can't do like an Instagram shot, it's you lose a bit of opportunity to have some stories and to become the brand kind of viral.
I did talk to someone previously, and they're talking about the press. It's an important element, but Nina Megan, she was in the podcast as well, but she never really saw business coming from there. That is more of an element of prestige in the relationship with the media. For somebody who's very much involved in that world, how much has the magazines changed and evolved? And it does. Well, part of the conversation I was having with Nina is that some magazines, at least she's from the US, so we're speaking most in the US market, doesn't quite represent the community anymore. The artist itself, it's very much more of the end users or the celebrity-driven outlook. Is that similar here?
I think it is very like this for fashion brands, like the celebrity endorsement and stuff like this. I don't know if it's very relative to design scene or something like this, but for sure, like to be presented in a magazine is very important because it can establish your brand and you have a good visibility. And then it really depends on the price of the object that you can sell directly from a magazine. So I think it's very important to repeat your presence in events, press, and Instagram as well, to augment the visibility of your brand and the notoriety.
Because you get the chance to really meet a lot of the young designers in the next generation. Is there like a common question or a common concerns that they have? They come to you and ask questions about it, or a tip that you recommend for them before they, really become or really accomplish what they want to accomplish, like steps they need to follow?
But we are in 2024 now, and of course the challenge is we have to think about sustainability. And today, what can you invent with this idea in mind? Because it's quite very kind of impossible to invent object with if you think about your carbon print, if you do like a ceramic, it costs a lot of energy to warm a kiln, or if you work with wood or metal. It's the challenge now is to invent objects that can last in the future, and you can invent like a lot of new things, but you have really think about the longevity of the object that you invent.
Yeah, because that's the other part of sustainability, right? It's not someone you can only recycle, but a piece that will last, that you won't need it to purchase another piece like this for 20, 30 plus years.
Yeah, but the idea of Theorem is that we're doing collectible design. So all the pieces has to last for a very, very long time. So of course we try to produce locally. We produce all the pieces on order only. So we just produce the prototypes, and then when we receive orders, we produce piece by piece. It's not like to produce like 200 sofas, and then you don't sell them, and then you throw them. So
you have to put in a discount, and then next time you see it is not what we plan to be. So now, Theorem has been around for 6 years.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. It's fast.
What you have great exhibitions coming up this year. You have this wonderful new collection. Where do you see the brand, the gallery in the next 5 to 10 years?
Good question. For the moment, we arrived in this space last January, so a year ago. So we had the chance to observe how the garden is evolving, and what is programmation that we can organize in the gallery. So we did a lot of collaboration with big art galleries and some smaller as well. We did a collaboration with Kamel Menour last year, where he lent us some artwork of François Morlaix. And then we did a collaboration with DS Gallery. This year we will do a show with Daniel Buren, the artist who did the columns that you have behind you. And so the idea is that we can to put the dialogue between art pieces and all pieces and all pieces, our collection, and and I think yes, we will now to gain some visibility and to present in design fairs will be the strongest way to move forward and go faster.
Excited. I have a couple of rapid questions. So I send a question, you send it back to me, and you can tell, we can go play along like this. You have the opportunity to collaborate with any designer, present or past.
Okay.
Give me 3 that you love to collaborate with.
Oh, wow. Ettore Sottsass, Giroire, and Format Fantasma.
Okay. The best place to eat in Paris?
Takara,
okay.
A Japanese restaurant. It's just behind the Palais Royal. It's the first Japanese restaurant which opens in Europe in 1953, and it's a very, very nice place.
The best compliment have the collection received for anybody?
Good one. I think the fact it's very poetic and give you some emotions, and the fact the colors are very, very specific.
If you were to start over today, what would be the first thing you would do?
To have a good business partner.
Okay.
But I have already. But yeah.
So for you, like
I
must.
think because to work by yourself, it's like so difficult, and to exchange and it's very, very important to work as a team.
Are you optimistic about the future?
Absolutely, yes. It's not. It's a tough time, let's say, worldwide, but I really hope things will calm down
Usually I ask a couple questions like your favorite book or books that you should recommend to people that should go check it out. It can be something you read recently, it can be design related, fashion related, or just a personal favorite of yours.
A book in English. I have to find the name in English.
It can be in French.
Okay. Wow. It's a Japanese book that I really like. It's about the shadow. I don't get it.
Well, we'll get the name later, and then we'll make sure we include it.
Okay, good.
Okay. A movie.
A movie, L'Anatomie d'une chute.
Okay.
It's a film who won the Palme last year in Cannes. I saw it 3 weeks ago, and I'm completely obsessed. I might go back this week to see it again.
Are you someone that watch a lot of movies? Do you find inspirations in them?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
I'm very monomaniac, so I can't go to. I can escape cinemas for a year, and then I'm going maybe 10 times in a row.
Yeah. So outside working here at the gallery, plus the communication business as well, what else do you do outside work?
I just rent a year ago a house in the countryside close to Fontainebleau.
Okay.
It's in the middle of the forest of Fontainebleau, which is very nice and beautiful. And so I have the space there, and I go for walks and see friends, cooking, and
Okay. My last question: a recommendation? Who do you think we should try to get next in the podcast as a guest?
I think it could be nice if you can interview Marion Vignal. Marion Vignal, she's a curator and journalist based in Paris. She has created this association called Genius Loci. This association is promoting the architectural patrimoine through the contemporary creation, art and design.
Yeah.
And so she's renting some spaces as Gio Ponti's Villa or Auguste Perret, and she's doing a curating of contemporary and art and design collection in order to do what's the name?
It's okay.
To do a portrait of the architect who designed the space through contemporary eye.
That's an excellent suggestion. Marion is actually her recent exhibition is being nominated for the Creative Design Awards over the weekend. So hopefully, we'll know her very well. It's terrific. David, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. For those who are visiting Paris this week, tell them how they can find the gallery and how can they be in touch with you.
Okay, so the gallery is located on 170 Galerie de Valois, on the Garden Palais Royal, very close to Ministry of Culture and Rico Owens, and we are in this alley, and on Instagram on Théorème Editions. Voilà.
Excellent. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Minded podcast powered by the CDA Paris edition, presented by Maison et Objets and Paris Design Week.